The repair bay of the Galactic monitoring station Omega-9 was unusually quiet. Senior analyst Krivex carefully reviewed the incoming data stream from Sector 7G, a backwater region most considered unremarkable. His three-fingered hands trembled as he replayed the transmission for the 7th time, each review more incomprehensible than the last. Holographic displays flickered around him, casting an eerie blue-green light across his scaled features. The station's ambient temperature regulators hummed softly, a stark contrast to the rising tension in Krivex's mind. This was not supposed to happen. Not like this. The initial probe, the Xarnal XR-9000 Reconnaissance Unit, was the pinnacle of galactic surveillance technology. Constructed from quantum-adaptive metamaterials that could penetrate virtually any planetary defense, it represented the most advanced piece of monitoring equipment in the Confederacy's arsenal. Each unit cost more than the entire economic output of most developing civilizations. They were precision instruments of unparalleled sophistication, capable of collecting and transmitting data across millions of light-years with microscopic accuracy. And yet, this particular probe had simply vanished. Krivex pulled up the final transmission logs. The initial approach had been textbook perfect. Stealth systems engage, quantum encryption locked, passive scanning modes activated. The probe had entered the planet's atmosphere, a small blue-green world designated as HD 219,134 bits in the Confederate database, locally known as Earth, with absolute precision. Then nothing. Not an explosion. Not a system failure. Not even an electromagnetic interference pattern. Just complete data extinction. The senior analyst zoomed in on the last captured frame. For a split second, something had flickered across the probe's main processing unit. It wasn't damage. It wasn't an attack. It was almost as if the probe's own systems had been consumed. Krivex's secondary respiratory sacs inflated with a mixture of professional anxiety and something deeper, a primal fear that most advanced civilizations had long since evolved beyond. Something was fundamentally wrong about this transmission. The way the data dissolved, the pattern of systemic absorption, suggested an intelligence that operated outside of any known technological paradigm. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. Preliminary analysis from the Confederate Science Directorate had just arrived. Krivex opened the encrypted transmission, his eye stalks focusing on the summary report. FINDINGS PURBXR 9000 Gamma STATUS Total System QMPROMIS RECOMENDATION Immediate fuel investigation. The report was unusually terse. In the thousands of years of galactic exploration, Krivex had never seen such a minimalist response from the typically verbose Confederate bureaucracy. Something about this planet, about these humans, had genuinely unsettled the most advanced intelligence network in the known universe. As he continued to review the data, Krivex couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. The probe hadn't been destroyed. It had been studied, analyzed, potentially even understood in ways that defied every known principle of technological interaction. Whatever was happening on that small blue planet was something entirely new, and the galaxy was about to find out exactly how unprepared it truly was. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a secret facility hummed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display that was part museum, part living organism. The walls of the underground complex seemed to pulse with an almost organic rhythm, a testament to the extraordinary work happening within. Surrounding her, the remnants of the alien probe danced and shifted. What had once been a sleek, impossibly advanced piece of extraterrestrial technology was now something entirely different. Metallic components liquefied and reformed. Quantum processors flickered with patterns that no human, or alien, had ever witnessed before. "It's not just about reverse engineering," Elena muttered, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and barely contained wonder. We're having a conversation with technology itself. Her team watched in a mixture of awe and professional concentration. Each member wore specialized neural link interfaces, their minds partially connected to the living technological ecosystem before them. Dr. Raj Mehta, the team's quantum computing expert, leaned forward, his augmented eyes capturing microscopic details that would have been invisible to standard human perception. The probe's quantum encryption is unlike anything in our databases, he reported, his voice calm despite the revolutionary implications. It's not just advanced, it's adaptive. Each time we probe a new layer, the entire system reorganizes itself. The alien probe had arrived with the intention of studying humanity, a routine reconnaissance mission for a galactic civilization that viewed Earth as nothing more than a primitive backwater. Instead, it had become something entirely unexpected. A technological Trojan horse that was teaching humanity far more than it could have ever anticipated. Elena touched a holographic interface, and the probe's components began to shift more dramatically. Quantum processors that had been designed for alien computational models were now interfacing with human technology in ways that broke every known rule of engineering. It wasn't just adaptation. It was translation, a complete reimagining of technological possibility. "Look at how it's processing information," she said, pointing to a section of the display. Traditional alien tech follows linear pathways. This is fractal, dimensional. It's not just solving problems. It's generating entirely new problem-solving methodologies. Dr. Marcus Chen, their cybersecurity expert, watched the display with a mixture of professional caution and barely contained excitement. "We're not just learning from this technology," he observed. "We're evolving with it." The probe had arrived to study humanity. Instead, humanity was studying something far more profound, a glimpse into a mode of technological existence that transcended traditional understanding of intelligence, computation, and communication. As the metallic components continued their mesmerizing dance, Elena Rodriguez knew they were witnessing something unprecedented. This was more than a technological breakthrough. This was the first true conversation between humanity and an intelligence completely alien to human experience. And they were just beginning to understand the language. Dr. Kwame O'Keefe's laboratory in Nairobi resembled a battlefield between biology and science fiction. Transparent containment chambers lined the walls, each housing a complex ecosystem of biological experimentation that would have terrified most scientific review boards. The air thrummed with a low-frequency resonance, part technological hum, part biological pulse. A holographic display tracked the most extraordinary experiment in human history. Genetic sequencers whirred next to monitors showing human DNA mutating in real time, adapting to challenges that would have killed any other known species within moments. The sample before him was nothing short of miraculous, a concentrated biological warfare agent developed by the Xarnal Imperium, a weapon so sophisticated it had systematically eliminated entire civilizations, was breaking down inside human test samples. But this was far more than simple resistance. "It's not just immune response," Kwame muttered to his lead researcher, Dr. Sofia Martinez. "We're witnessing active cellular reprogramming." The weapon was designed to be perfect. Millions of years of alien xenobiological research had created a molecular construct that could penetrate the most robust biological defenses. It attacked at the quantum genetic level, unraveling cellular structures with mathematical precision. Entire species had been wiped out in hours by similar agents. But the human samples were doing something impossible. Instead of simply defending against the agent, human cells were studying it, analyzing it, dismantling its genetic architecture, and then, most incredibly, beginning to incorporate elements of the weapon into their own genetic structure. Sophia zoomed in on a microscopic view of the cellular interaction. "Look at the way the T cells are responding," she said, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and genuine awe. "They're not just neutralizing the threat. They're learning from it." Each mutation was a quantum leap in evolutionary adaptation. Where most species would require thousands of generations to develop minor genetic modifications, these human cells were rewriting their own genetic code in real time. The biological warfare agent that was meant to destroy was now becoming a tool for unprecedented genetic advancement. "We're not just surviving," Dr. O'Keefe said to his stunned research team. "We're evolving faster than the threat itself." Blood samples from volunteers around the world told a similar story. Individuals from different genetic backgrounds, exposed to controlled variants of the alien weapon, were showing remarkable similarities in their cellular response. It wasn't just individual adaptation. It was a species-wide evolutionary leap. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just human resilience. This was a fundamental reimagining of biological potential. The Katarnal had designed a weapon to eliminate. Instead, they had provided humanity with the ultimate evolutionary catalyst. As the holographic displays continued to track the extraordinary cellular dance, Dr. O'Keefe realized they were witnessing something unprecedented in the history of life itself. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were transforming the very concept of biological limitation. The small cafe in Tokyo's Shimokitazawa district seemed unremarkable at first glance. Soft jazz played from a vintage record player in the corner, mixing with the gentle sounds of conversation and the occasional clink of ceramic cups. But to an alien observer, the three individuals seated at the worn wooden table would represent something far more complex than a simple meeting. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, a quantum physicist with wild salt and pepper hair, balanced precariously between scientific diagrams and a meticulously painted watercolor sketch. Across from him, Maya Rodriguez, a street artist known for her revolutionary urban installations, sketched complex geometric patterns that seemed to blur the line between art and mathematical theorem. At the end of the table, retired Colonel James Chen listened intently, his weathered hands wrapped around a steaming cup of green tea. Their conversation defied every known principle of linear communication. "The multiverse," Hiroshi was saying, his fingers tracing intricate diagrams, "isn't just a theoretical construct. It's a living metaphor for human potential." He seamlessly transitioned from quantum mechanics to the brushstroke techniques of ancient Japanese landscape painting, his mind dancing between disciplines with breathtaking fluidity. Maya responded by overlaying her sketch with a series of quantum probability waves. "Look," she said, "each artistic choice is a collapse of potential realities. It's not just creation. It's a form of probabilistic engineering." Colonel Chen chuckled, a sound that held decades of strategic insight. "You're describing warfare," he interjected. "Not with weapons, but with possibilities. The most powerful strategy is the one nobody sees coming." To an alien civilization built on rigid hierarchical structures and linear thought processes, this conversation would appear chaotic, incomprehensible. But this was the essence of human intelligence, a dynamic, non-linear system that transformed contradiction into opportunity. The cafe around them was a microcosm of this approach. A traditional Japanese tea house transformed by modern design, serving both classic brew and experimental fusion drinks. Outside, centuries-old architecture stood alongside cutting-edge sustainable buildings. Every element existed in a state of beautiful, productive tension. "Chaos is not a weakness," Maya said, echoing a thought that seemed to hang in the air. "It's the ultimate adaptive strategy." Hiroshi nodded, his scientific diagrams now completely merged with his artistic exploration. "We don't solve problems linearly. We create ecosystems of solution. Each challenge is an opportunity to reimagine everything." Colonel Chen's eyes held a lifetime of strategic understanding. He had seen how human unpredictability had confounded traditional military doctrine time and again. Rigid systems broke. Adaptive networks transformed. As the afternoon light filtered through the cafe's windows, these three individuals represented something far more profound than their individual expertise. They were living proof of humanity's most terrifying characteristic: the ability to simultaneously hold multiple, often contradictory perspectives, and transform them into unprecedented innovation. The universe was about to learn that human potential wasn't just about technology or biology. It was about a fundamental way of perceiving and reshaping reality itself. The global communication network pulsed like a living organism, its tendrils extending across continents, beneath oceans, and through the invisible pathways of satellite connections. What had once been a simple infrastructure of data transmission had evolved into something far more complex, a collective intelligence that defied every known principle of computational theory. In a nondescript data center in Singapore, Dr. Aisha Khalid watched the network's real-time visualization. Holographic displays surrounded her, each representing different layers of global communication. But this was no ordinary monitoring station. The network was thinking, adapting, learning at a speed that would have been inconceivable just a decade earlier. When the first alien communication attempts began, the network didn't just respond. It anticipated. Lines of code transformed like living organisms. Quantum-encrypted messages rearranged themselves, creating complex linguistic matrices that went far beyond simple translation. The network was doing something unprecedented. It was understanding not just the language, but the entire cultural and technological context behind each transmission. "It's a living algorithm," Aisha muttered to her team. "We're not just receiving information. We're engaging in a multidimensional dialogue." Millions of human minds, connected yet independent, had become a single organism more complex than any centralized intelligence could ever comprehend. A programmer in Mumbai, a data analyst in Sao Paulo, a student in Lagos, each became a neural node in a global cognitive network that processed information faster than any supercomputer. The alien communication protocol was sophisticated beyond human understanding. Designed to be unbreakable, it used quantum entanglement and multi-dimensional encryption that had systematically overwhelmed every other civilization's communication systems. But humanity's network was different. Instead of trying to break the encryption, the global network began to understand it. Each attempt at alien communication was immediately analyzed, contextualized, and transformed. What should have been an impenetrable barrier became a window of understanding. Dr. Khalid zoomed in on a particular data stream. The alien communication was being simultaneously analyzed by thousands of independent systems, each approaching the problem from a different perspective. Machine learning algorithms, human intuition, cultural context, all merged into a single fluid intelligence. "We're not decoding," she explained to her increasingly excited team. "We're having a conversation." The network's response was nothing short of miraculous. It didn't just translate the alien communication, it began to anticipate future transmissions, creating predictive models that went beyond traditional computational logic. Each interaction became an opportunity for mutual understanding, a bridge between fundamentally different forms of intelligence. Millions of devices, from the most sophisticated quantum computers to the simplest smartphone, worked in concert, not as a unified command structure, but as a dynamic, ever-changing ecosystem of intelligence. The aliens had sent a message intended to be incomprehensible. Instead, they had initiated a dialogue that would redefine the very concept of communication itself. The Xarnal Imperium's most advanced communication vessel, the Quantum Harmony, hung in space like a crystalline sculpture of impossible geometry. Captain Zarek reviewed the incoming data streams with mounting confusion. What should have been a routine assessment of a primitive planetary civilization had become something entirely beyond comprehension. Their most sophisticated technological interfaces were being consumed, not destroyed, not hacked, consumed. Each attempt to probe the planet's communication networks resulted in something unprecedented. The human technological ecosystem didn't just resist, it absorbed, understood, and transformed alien technology at a rate that defied every known principle of technological interaction. Dr. Lyra Chen, lead researcher at the United Earth Advanced Technology Integration Center, watched the alien vessel's approach with a mixture of scientific excitement and strategic calm. The holographic displays around her showed multiple layers of technological interaction, each more complex than the last. They're trying to understand us through their own technological paradigm, she explained to her team. But technology for us isn't a tool. It's a living language. What took the Xarnal millennia to develop, humans were reimagining in weeks. Quantum communication protocols that had been the pinnacle of alien technological achievement were being dismantled, understood, and recontextualized with an almost intuitive technological empathy. The quantum harmony's attempts at communication were progressively more desperate. Each transmission became more complex, more encrypted, and each time the human network responded with an exponentially more sophisticated understanding. It was as if the very act of attempting to communicate was teaching humans a new form of technological dialogue. Xaric's communication specialists worked frantically. Their most advanced decryption algorithms were being turned inside out, their quantum encryption protocols becoming transparent blueprints for human innovation. This wasn't just technological exchange. It was a complete reimagining of what technology could be. They're not just learning, one of Xaric's senior analysts reported, his voice trembling. They're evolving our technology in real time. Entire technological paradigms that had taken the Xarnal civilization generations to develop were being understood, transformed, and transcended by humanity in a matter of hours. It wasn't just adaptation. It was a fundamental reconstruction of technological possibility. Dr. Chen watched the interaction with a sense of profound wonder. Humanity wasn't just receiving alien technology. They were engaging in a form of technological conversation that went beyond simple communication. Each alien technological approach was being met with a response that was simultaneously a defense, an understanding, and a radical reimagining. The quantum harmony systems began to shift, not through external manipulation, but through a process that could only be described as technological reproduction. Human networks were giving birth to entirely new technological concepts, using alien communication attempts as raw material for innovation. As the vessel continued its approach, one thing became terrifyingly clear. Humanity was not a civilization to be studied. They were a technological force that rewrote the very rules of technological interaction. The diplomatic chamber was unlike any meeting space in galactic history. Suspended within a quantum-stabilized environment at the United Nations Extraterrestrial Engagement Facility, the room itself seemed to breathe with possibility. Natural light filtered through adaptive membranes that shifted color and texture, creating an atmosphere that was simultaneously welcoming and profoundly alien. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, her posture a careful balance of openness and strategic precision. Behind her, a diverse team represented humanity's collective potential: scientists, artists, military strategists, and cultural experts. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to transform. The Xarnal diplomatic delegation entered, their crystalline exoskeletons shifting with each movement. Ambassador Krultok, senior representative of the Galactic Confederation, moved with the calculated grace of a civilization that had mastered interstellar diplomacy millennia ago. Yet something in his movements suggested uncertainty, a rare emotion for his species. No displays of military might occurred, no territorial posturing. Just a simple, revolutionary proposal. "We're not asking to join your galactic community," Elena began, her words simultaneously translated through multiple quantum communication channels. "We're offering to evolve it." The holographic displays around them began to pulse, not with predetermined presentations, but with living, adaptive visualizations that transformed with each breath, each thought. Potential collaborative scenarios emerged and dissolved, showing not just technological solutions but entire frameworks of mutual growth. Krultok's communication tendrils flickered with confusion. Every diplomatic encounter in galactic history followed strict protocols. Civilizations either submitted, were conquered, or were categorically ignored. Humanity was presenting an entirely new paradigm. Dr. Kwame O'Keefe, standing beside Rodriguez, began to explain humanity's vision. It wasn't about technological exchange or resource acquisition. It was about collective evolution, a radical concept that suggested progress was a collaborative, dynamic process rather than a hierarchical achievement. The human team demonstrated breakthrough after breakthrough, not as displays of superiority, but as invitations to collaborative exploration. Biological adaptation techniques that could revolutionize medical understanding. Quantum communication protocols that redefined information exchange. Cultural methodologies that transformed conflict resolution. We don't want to compete, Rodriguez continued. We want to create. The Xarnal delegation watched in a mixture of horror and fascination. Humanity was offering something far more dangerous than conquest, a fundamental reimagining of civilizational interaction. Each presentation was an ecosystem of possibility, showing how diverse approaches could generate solutions beyond any single perspective. Cultural experts demonstrated how human creativity transformed challenges into opportunities. Military strategists showed conflict resolution techniques that prioritized mutual understanding. Scientists unveiled collaborative research models that transcended traditional disciplinary boundaries. As the presentation concluded, the diplomatic chamber itself seemed to vibrate with potential. The Xarnal had arrived expecting to categorize, to evaluate, to potentially neutralize. Instead, they found themselves witnessing the most profound diplomatic encounter in galactic history. Humanity wasn't asking to be accepted. They were redefining the very concept of acceptance. The archives of the Galactic Confederation would forever mark this moment as the most significant pivotal point in recorded interstellar history. What had begun as a simple reconnaissance mission to a seemingly insignificant blue planet had transformed into a fundamental reconstruction of galactic understanding. The RSS Indomitable, humanity's first truly adaptive exploration vessel, hung in space like a living testament to this transformation. Its hull was no longer just a structure, but a dynamic ecosystem of technological potential. Adaptive membranes shifted and responded to stellar radiation. Quantum processors integrated with biological neural networks, and its very design challenged every conventional principle of spacecraft engineering. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the infinite expanse of stars. The vessel was more than a ship. It was a living metaphor for humanity's approach to the universe. The Xarnal Imperium's final report to the Galactic Confederation was brutally simple and unprecedented in its scope. Humanity is not a species to be categorized. They are a universal constant of unpredictability. Entire civilizations had been systematically managed, controlled, or eliminated by the Confederation. Humanity had done something entirely different. They had transformed the very concept of interstellar interaction from a hierarchical system of control to a dynamic network of collaborative potential. Dr. Kwame O'Keefe's biological research had become the foundation of a new form of interspecies medical understanding. The adaptive techniques developed from humanity's encounter with alien biological weapons were now saving entire civilizations from genetic degradation. What was once a weapon of destruction had become a universal tool of healing and evolution. The global human communication network, no longer confined to a single planet, had become a living, adaptive intelligence that connected multiple civilizations. It wasn't just a communication system. It was a collective problem-solving organism that transformed challenges into opportunities faster than any centralized intelligence could comprehend. Military strategists who had once prepared for conflict now developed collaborative conflict resolution frameworks that were being adopted across multiple star systems. Human creativity had transformed the very concept of strategic interaction. The RSS Indomitable's mission was no longer exploration in the traditional sense. It was an ongoing dialogue with the universe itself, each encounter an opportunity to learn, to grow, to reimagine possibility. As the ship moved through the star-filled void, its systems pulsed with a form of intelligence that defied traditional understanding. Part biological, part technological, part something entirely new, it represented humanity's true gift to the universe. They had not conquered. They had not submitted. They had transformed. The universe would never be the same, and humanity was just getting started. In the infinite darkness between stars, Possibility itself seemed to breathe with a new, unprecedented potential.